What's up guys, back with another Honkai Star video. In this video we are going to make a tier list on all the 5 stars and rank them. Before we get into this, since I know a lot of you like to leave funny comments, these are just my opinions. They're not facts. They're just based off of my experience, what I've seen of the unit, what I've seen from them. I use them myself, what I've seen from other people, all that good stuff. So of course you can disagree in the comments, but let's keep it a bit civil. You know, people like to go a little crazy, but it's not like I've never used these units before. Trust me, I've used most of these units very, very often. There are a few, right, that I don't use insanely, like Luocha. I probably have used him like maybe 4 times, right? But I still know like Luocha's really good. Starting with Z-tier, by the way, we're putting Luocha there, just off rip, right? So, you know, take my word for it, hear me out, you know? But let's get started with the 3 sustain units that I think belong in Z, which are Fushuan, Luocha, and Ho-Ho. These 3 units are insanely good. Fushuan, I think, is the best. I think Luocha is probably going to be the worst, just because Ho-Ho's heal is extremely good, and then she has a lot of utility with her ultimate. Fushuan just does quite literally everything besides like just killing the enemy, and I've actually seen some funny like DPS Fushuan builds, so her ult like actually does damage. Those are pretty funny, but she's just so incredibly good. I think Fushuan is by far the best unit in the game to have. People are gonna hear that and be like, oh well, actually she's on DPS, so she can't be. Yeah, I still think she has enough qualifications to land her number 1, but we're not ranking them in the tiers. If we were, she would definitely sit in Z, so I'm just gonna put her in there just for the funny. But let's get into the 2 supports that I believe belong in Z, which are Ruin Mei and Bronya. If I can find her, there she is. So Ruin Mei is so insanely good that you can run 2 DPSs on the team with no worry. All her buffs are AoE, which are insanely good. She just exists on the field and just supports, and her skill and ultimate tying to it being her turn are just so nice. It's just using the skill and then being like, all right, I don't gotta worry about that for like 3 turns. It's so nice compared to someone like Ting Yun, where, you know, Jingliu goes a little crazy and then you're like, oh yeah, I lost Ting Yun buff, that sucks. Bronya is also insanely good because her E action advances, her ultimate is just such a big boost, and then of course she has the 100% crit rate on her basic attack, so it actually can do like a little bit of damage, and it also moves her action forward. She's just insanely good. I'm actually shocked I wouldn't say wasted her kit, but I'm surprised she is a standard 5-star. Like, you can lose your 50-50 to one of the best units in the game, and I'm very thankful for that, because man, oh man, I haven't unfortunately lost my 50-50 to Bronya yet, but I imagine, you know, losing it and going, oh man, that sucks, but you know, it's Bronya, so you can still be a little bit excited compared to someone like, you know, you'll lose the Yanqing and be like, oh well, that sucks. But regardless of that, let's move on to the only DPS I have in Z tier. Now, the only DPS I have in Z tier is Jingliu. I think she's the only DPS out at the moment that deserves to be in Z tier. She is insanely good. Use her ultimate or her skill, whatever way it may be, twice, and she transforms, right? It can be your ultimate or her skill. It can be your ultimate twice, her skill twice, whatever it may be. When you do it twice, she transforms. Her damage is insanely good. I like to build her as much crit damage as you can, and then you just get the crit rate from her transformation. She hits insanely hard. Blast is super, super strong. If she was single target, you know, she'd be a bit more balanced, but she just does so much absurd damage. I'd be shocked if she was power crept anytime soon. And by power crypt, by the way, I mean as in she's unusable or you don't run her whatsoever. Obviously, I would not be shocked if we get a DPS that's better than her in the next couple updates, but overall, if there is enough DPSs to make her not run at all, like for example, not a lot of people run Jingyun anymore because there's just a lot more options. If that happened to her, I'd be insanely shocked, right? And Starro would have other issues. But let's jump into S tier, right? We're going to start with some of the DPSs in this tier, like Dr. Ratio, Clara, Don Hang. Am I missing anybody? Zele and Argenti. If I do forget somebody, by the way, hear me out. You know, I'm only human. I'll get back to it. These 5 are very, very incredible DPSs. I'll go over them one at a time really quickly. Doctor ratio is free. Big W, right? His follow-up attack does absurd damage. His debuff threshold isn't super crazy to maintain unless you just have really bad RNG. Trust me, I've lost the 60% chance a lot, which I mean makes sense. I lose most of my 50/50s, but he's just an insanely good unit. Summonation is nice because it's forever, so if you hit someone with a debuff with a skill enough times, you're good to go. The fact that it gives crit damage, meaning that if you have a pretty bad build for your Doctor ratio, Summonation can save it by giving you enough crit rate, and then you get a good amount of crit damage from it. He's just an overall great unit, great damage. Clara, bit RNG heavy, but those counters absolutely shred the enemy. Donhang, yeah, his skill point usage has made him fall off a little bit, which is not great. Using 3 skill points every time it's your turn is a bit rough when a lot of the times you want to be using skill points for all your characters, such as like your support like Branya, or maybe you have to use it for your healer, or maybe you need Fu Xuan's like barrier thing up again. It's rough, right? But Don Hank still does enough damage at the moment to make it okay. Once his damage isn't as good as other DPSs, he's probably gonna plummet, which I don't see that happening anytime soon, but it is something to worry about in the future. Sele, very, 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 very strong. Her talent, hosted technique, allowing her to kill an enemy and then act again, is very, very, very cool. Probably one of the coolest animations in the game with her little After Effect thing. I know that's not really too relevant in the tier list, but I'll give her a nod to that because I just think it's cool. Overall, very strong character. She leads Mono Quantum still to this day. People say it's one of the best teams. I don't have it because I actually never pulled Zele myself. I lost my 50/50 and kind of just took it as a sign to go for the next character. Besides, like, my whole friends list was just E6 Zele, so I just, you know, I used her enough to be satisfied. She is insanely strong. The only gripe is that she's single target, and this game just hates single target DPSs. Even Dr. Ratio is not immune to this, but they do enough damage to, you know, put them up a peg, I guess is what word I'll use. So they're fine for now, but single target is a bit rough, so they unfortunately can't reach Z tier, or they might have a hard time staying S in the future. And then we get to the AoE king himself, Argenti. Man, oh man, like, someone had to sit down, right, and think of his kit. And around the same time, they had to have thinking of Pure Fiction, and they had to have been like, what is one of the best units that we could do for this Pure Fiction game mode? And the guy typed it out, and then they just didn't bother reading it, and they're just like, all right, yeah, release him. Like, he is so good for Pure Fiction, it's crazy. The more enemies, he just goes crazy. He is the best farming unit by far. My friend has an Argenti, and on my no pull account and on my main, I just click his Argenti, hit auto, and then Argenti just goes crazy, kills everything. Ult, over and over and over. It's just so incredibly good. Argenti is good, but I will say, he could probably easily be replaced in the future if we get a better AoE unit, but he is very, very good as of right now. His design with his ultimates is cool. I have a bit of an issue with it because it is kind of hard to get his max ult sometimes, right? Especially if you only have one enemy. It's kind of the opposite, where the single target characters hate having groups of enemies, and he's the exact opposite. If there's one enemy, he struggles quite a bit, but he's still such a great unit, and you can still absolutely shred that one enemy with his ult. That, you know, he still deserves S. Now let's get into A tier. A tier, I'm just going to put everyone there and then explain my reasoning after. A tier isn't like, don't view it as, oh wow, they're an S or A tier and not S tier. Oh my gosh, like, the tiers aren't that crazy. I'm not saying it's like, you know, the difference between S and A is like Yanqing versus like, you know, Dr. Ratio or something like that, you know? But in A tier, I think I am confident. Also, I totally forgot, before I go into A tier, almost forgot Silverwolf. Silverwolf is an S. The only reason she is not in Z for me is because she is single target and you have to reapply everything to every single enemy you fight, which can be a bit annoying. Sorry, almost forgot about her. Told you, I'm human, I forget stuff. But anyway, let's go into A tier. Now, some of these units are good because of pure fiction. I'm going to be honest with you. Himiko is that unit. She's not really great anywhere else, but the fact that she is probably the second to third best unit for pure fiction will give her some bonus points. We'll put her in A. She absolutely cooks on that one. I have a really crap Himiko, and she absolutely cooked and almost got me 3 stars. I actually haven't gotten 3 stars on pure fiction yet, mostly because I was waiting to get my Himiko up a bit more, and then that didn't happen because I had to get other characters up for other stuff. But Himiko is so insanely good. Even if yours is crap and not built, she will absolutely cook on pure fiction. But the fact that she's not good at anything else kind of brings her down, so I'm going to feel comfortable putting her in A. The other 4 units come down to Topaz and Kafka are insanely good for what they do, but they really want someone else to be there with them. Topaz has Dr. Ratio at the moment for her, and Kafka is just waiting for Black Swan, even though reports are saying that Black Swan is not that unit yet for Kafka. She's good, but not like that unit. So they're an A just for that reason. They really need a best friend to function, and I don't think Topaz has that in Dr. Ratio quite yet. They are very nasty together. I've seen, you know, people go absolutely crazy, but I think once we get like the unit for those two, they will probably jump up to S, but at the moment I'm just going to put them in A. And then Blade and Jingliu are in the statue of very solid DPSs. People will crap on Jingliu all the time. I think he's good. Just don't let him get CC. We have so many ways of cleaning up CC or making yourself, I don't say immune to it, but immune to getting hit once, like with Fushuan, right? So I don't think that's too much of an issue now. Lightning Lord does kind of stink with having to wait for him, but, you know, you can easily play around that. And then Blade is just overall jack of all trades. He could be an S. Like, I'd probably say the one unit who could be an S is Blade. It really just depends on builds, you know, who's on the team with him. And since I'm trying to rank these characters by themselves in a vacuum, in a sense, I know I just talked about Kafka and Topaz having a partner, but that's just kind of like how they play versus Blade, who is just, you put him on a team and most of the time he will cook. I think Blade is probably the best overall, like all around DPS, right? He has survivability, you know, he can take a hit, deal out hits. He kind of just has everything going for him, kind of like Fushuan, where she has like the whole like healing, damage reduction, healing the team kind of thing going for her. Blade is very similar. Unfortunately for DPSs, having everything going for you is not as crazy as a support or a sustain unit having everything going for them. But like I said, Blade could easily be S or A, but I'm going to put him in A myself personally. Then we have B tier. Now you might be looking at the list and being, damn, there's 3 more tiers, but not too many 5 stars left. I think in B tier is going to be Welt, Bailu, and Jeopard. The reason with Welt is usable, and you can use him on certain teams, but he's not like a must use on those teams, and he's not a unit that you'd be like, yeah, I have Welt, I'm definitely going to use him. He kind of just has his niche, so I'm putting him in B because of that. And then Bailu and Jeopard are still really good, but they've kind of fallen off, and there's better options, especially for Bailu. You have Locha Ho-Ho. It's just like, okay, like, are you really going to be using Bailu? Like, people are using Lynx over her. That's pretty rough. Yeah, people are using a free 4-star at E0 even over a 5-star. I still think her, like, rejuvenation when you get hit, you heal, is still very strong, but no cleanse is a bit rough when most of the fights are lost because you get CC'd. If Bilo had a cleanse though, she would probably be up there in C tier. I'm gonna be honest with you. I might be like glazing by a little bit and thinking she's like the incredible healer. I might be biased as hell because I used her for so long, but I think Bilo is still an incredible healer. Just the no cleanse is rough. And then we have Jeopard. I am a Jeopard defender. I love shields, but he has issues, man. His E being able to freeze is cool, but it almost never lands. I have E1 and I haven't tested it too much on some of the newer enemies, but it's still not enough. And if only he got his ult back like a bit more often, throw more shields. His shield is incredibly strong when you do get it. We definitely need a new shield character because it's such a broken mechanic, but Jeopard himself just can't throw it out enough to make him super runnable. You can get a lot of success with him and stuff like Golden Gears and the Swarm, where the enemy just hits insanely hard that even Fushuan will end up dying just because of how much damage is going out. I've seen people clear with Jeopard and a healer. He's not unusable, but he's very, very rough, and you're not going to use him for most content, so he's going to land himself in B tier. Alright, whew. A lot of talking. Longer video than I thought it would be. Now we have C and D tier, right? Now, as you see, the male and female MC are the destruction path. I'm just going to rock the female MC as the fire MC. They're usable. Their shield is kind of crappy. They kind of just have the taunt going for them, and then the damage reduction for the team when you taunt. I've seen people use them for break effect builds because, you know, the AoE ultimate, their blast single target, you get a lot of fire damage for toughness. So, you know, break effect go crazy. You can run it with your own Mei and have like a cheesy like break effect. Well, I wouldn't say break effect build, but like, you know, break their toughness build in a sense and go that way. Otherwise, not too crazy. There's way better sustains. They just don't cut it anymore. And then in D tier, we have the physical MC and Yanqing. I do think the physical MC is the worst 5-star in the game, but low-key, I feel like they're more usable than Yanqing because physical is kind of lacking in a sense, right? You have Argenti and you have Clara, right? Yanqing, on the other hand, has to compete with the best DPS in the game. And Yanqing does not cut it. Yanqing wants to not get hit, and shields are pretty good for that. Too bad that the only reliable shielder is Jeopard because March taunts when you shield someone, so that kind of defeats the whole purpose. The Fire MC shields are so little that if Yanqing gets hit, it's not going to matter, and then Jeopard just can't throw out his ultimate enough to protect Yanqing. Especially if Yanqing is just getting attacked a bunch or there's a lot of AoEs that are strong, its shield just won't cut it. So Yanqing's kind of in this position. I want to say Yanqing is the worst 5-star because he just doesn't have the help he needs. Once Yanqing has the help he needs, I don't think he's going to be any, like, whoops, smack my mic again. I have an issue with that. I don't think Yanqing is going to be the worst DPS when he gets his, like, the love he needs, but he's also not going to be going up too much when he does get it. So technically the male MC, or not the male MC, sorry, the physical MC is the worst DPS because they don't really do too much. They're still somehow more usable than Yanqing. It's a weird thing, right? There's more usable, and then there's paper looking at their kit. You're like, okay, clearly Yanqing is better. I'm hoping for you Yanqing mains, you get a good shielder soon in Adventuring. But until then, man oh man, Yanqing is so hard to run. I haven't me too. I tried to make him work. It just didn't happen. But anyway, that'll be it. By the way, I'm going to go over Black Swan and Sparkle. I assume, based off what I've seen so far, they're probably going to be an S, both of them. But we'll have to see when their kit drops. Let me know in the comments what you think of the tier list, though. Do you have any complaints? Do you agree? All that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe for more Honkai Star content. And of course, I'll catch y'all in the next Honkai Star video. I'll probably go over Black Swan and Sparkle's kits soon. I believe they're dropping them in the next couple of days. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one.